This is the Blackout Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people that do amazing things. And today I have my friend Sam Horak, and she does it all. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on the show, Israel. It's such a pleasure. I've been watching this podcast, and when you asked me, I was absolutely thrilled. I'm super grateful to be here. What I do, I consider myself to be a playwright, feminist, and rock star. To give you an idea, mostly I work in the theater, and I've also played in a number of bands.
What do you play? Like, what instrument do you play?
I'm a front woman. My voice is a little rough this morning because we had a show last night. I'm a punk singer. Which is a nice way of saying a singer with not a great vocal range. Yeah.
What's your band called?
My current band is called Privacy Bag.
Okay. What's the story behind that
Yeah.
name?
So the HRM came out with the bylaws around garbage bags. You had to have the clear garbage bag, and people were all outraged, being like, "Oh my God, my privacy! This is ridiculous." So then you were allowed to have your one black privacy bag. So we thought, what a great name for a punk band. It was actually Pam Krause, who plays guitar in the band, who came up with the name.
Okay. And how long have you guys played together?
We're pretty new, like a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And wait, how did you even start with music? Let's go back.
Oh goodness, that's pretty much all in my play, Rock and Roll Saved My Life, which is the story behind how I became a punk singer. But to give you a short rundown, this is a really good question. I feel like I just kind of got thrown into it. My first band was this Star Trek band.
Were you playing Star Trek music?
We sang about Star Trek and sex. Super, super nerdy. I had a Star Trek dress.
Like the black lady on the thing that kind of handles our communications on Star Trek. I can't remember her name.
Not exactly like that, but it was a pink uniform.
Gotcha,
no one wore pink on the show. I was the engineer officer, and I'm not even a huge Trekkie, but I do appreciate Star Trek.
Star Trek fan.
Yeah, pretty nerdy.
Super original name though.
Jordy Vision.
And you've always been a person singing. Do you write the songs?
Most of the lyrics I write. That's probably what attracted me. I didn't write the lyrics for the Star Trek band. I left that to Phil, who is a huge Trekkie. I write some of the lyrics for the bands, most of it. I find the most exciting part about creating music is how the lyrics can affect the music and which ones drives the creation of the music. So I find that to be a really interesting process. Sometimes I come in and I'm like, I have this tempo, and kind of do it spoken word, this is kind of how I envision it, or I'll sort of hum it, and then they'll work around that, or the other way where someone will come in with a riff, and we kind of work with that and then add text, I'm just generally really interested in storytelling, so any medium, whether it's text or music, I find it really exciting, just any way to get a story out there and explore different means of storytelling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, talking about storytelling, I mean, you've done plays, acted, written, produced, all those stuff. How did it start with plays?
Okay. I saw Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Donny Osmond, in Toronto when I was about 6 years old.
Wow.
They had a scene where children came on stage, and I remember grabbing my mom, being like, they're my age, they're on stage. And then she gave me a lecture about talking in the theater. But after that, we talked about theater, and she said, if this is something you want to do, there's a community center around the corner. We could see if we can, have you get involved in like some of the theater productions. This woman named Kelly Nye, she ran this great community theater from this community center, and it was fantastic.
Where was this center?
This was in Toronto. I used to live in Toronto. I'm 10 years in Halifax now, but
Gotcha.
I used to. It's actually, the community center is now a Shoppers Drug Mart, which is heartbreaking. Yeah. But it was such a great community center. They ran like playwriting workshops there, and there was a theater group, and we did like theater in the park outside the community, and like it was so fun. We did like Shakespeare in the park when I was like 13 years old, playing Miranda in The Tempest. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got involved.
And then when did you start writing your own stuff?
I actually originally went to DAL for acting.
Oh.
And I got kicked out of the acting program.
Why?
I'm going to say like two reasons. One is definitely I'll take some responsibility. I was like young in my early 20s and going through some shit like we all are. I was kind of probably in one of the darkest periods of my life. Had issues with showing up for class, just general responsibility stuff. And I butted heads with a couple of the profs there as well. So I think it was a mix. Like I just, as I would say nicely, I don't think it was a good fit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then what did you switch to?
That was like a big moment because I was like, what do I do? My whole life, if you asked me when I was 13, I was like, I'm going to be a famous actor. You just wait. And like had this like idea, like, when you're young and getting bullied and you're like, oh, I'll show them when I'm famous. Like, just you wait and see. But no. And so all of a sudden I was like, wait, no, my plans are changing. I mean, I still could have pursued acting, but I think I might have been coming to the realization that maybe this wasn't for me, or at the moment I need to explore something else.
Yeah.
So I started exploring directing and writing, because you could do that in theater studies. You were really open to an array of different classes. I did a creative process class, which was fantastic because it kind of really opened my mind to like different creative processes and just an array of different artists that we were learning about, and I was really inspired. I started keeping a journal after that class. And then I had playwriting with Catherine Banks, who's one of my favorite playwrights. Just a fantastic Nova Scotian playwright. Really inspired by her. I was thrilled when I heard she was teaching the class. And after that, she kind of like encouraged the class to write a play. And then once you write a play, that's it. You're just nonstop. You can't go back.
What was the first play called?
So mostly like my first bits and pieces were just, I don't even want to talk about that, to be honest. Oh God, I had this really bad one called Pink Furry Handcuffs. It was awful. It was about a love triangle and, this like a 3-person relationship, and it was bad.
What made it bad?
What?
Why was it bad?
Oh, because I had no idea of like narrative structure. The dialogue sounds like, I don't know, drunk teenagers talking, and like, it's terrible. I picked it up actually not too long ago, and I was like, oh, shove this back in the drawer. I'm not going to burn it. I used to burn everything. I used to find diaries, and I would be so embarrassed.
Oh.
I would just like take them out and burn them. It was like, and now I'm like, I kind of would love to like revisit.
Yeah, I know.
But I've always, kept a diary, and it'd be nice to go back.
Yeah. I wish, I had access to things like Evernote or stuff, because my writing sucks. So now I just type everything, and I like using Evernote or one of whatever where I can write stuff, because I can get it on my phone or my laptop or wherever I'm at. I don't think I'll have like any notebook. I mean, if I write a script or something, I have to print it out.
Yeah.
But I don't.
But you like to keep it all online.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Also saving paper too.
Yeah,
saving
yeah,
trees.
yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so
tell me about some of your writing. I'm so curious about this. So you're doing a science fiction show for Fringe, and you're switching to theater from film, different mediums. Sorry, I'm really intrigued. I love science fiction, and I'm very intrigued.
Well, I mean, I made a film called Roundel of Oz. It's set in this world where how should I put it? If you have emotions, you get killed. Pretty much, that's it. Because in this future, the powers that be believe that emotions led to the war that pretty much almost destroyed the world. So if we kill it, then we won't have any wars. And somehow it's working. But then there are people that believe that as human beings, we have to feel. Like, how can we not feel? Like, that is what makes us inherently human.
Yeah.
And so it's these people butting heads. So I made this film and it was pretty decent. And then I fell in love with this world, and I've been writing other stories in the world, like a series or like a feature.
Yeah.
And then I like challenging myself. When I it's not that I get bored, but when I can just do something, I want to get to the next challenge. So the next challenge was I've never written a play before.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, you know what? I understand this world. I'm going to try and write a play in this world, and I'm going to do it at Fringe because a friend of mine, what's his name now? It's not Kevin. Kevin Hartford.
Oh yeah. Love him. Kevin Hartford.
Yeah, the Kevin Hartford. So I reached out to him and he's like, don't worry, nobody expects your play to be amazing.
Well, it's Fringe. That's what Fringe is for. That's an exciting thing. It's so accessible.
That is what he says. So I was like, let's just see how it goes. So I applied and then I got in, and now
Awesome.
but the good thing is I'm pretty much working with the same people I've worked with, but I have 2 or 3 new characters that I need to audition for. So I just reached out to the friends and said, oh, you know that thing we did? We are going to redo it again, but I cannot pay you because it's Fringe, but let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So now I need to try and cast these 3 roles. And one of them is like the main character, right? And the thing about this play was I thought I'd finished it, but then the perfect twist just entered my mind as I was driving. So I just need to change one last thing and then it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of worried because I think going from theater to film is easier than going from film to theater, because going from theater to film, you in theater you're kind of restricted.
Oh yeah.
But film you're like, whatever you want to do. But now you're going from that freedom to this restriction. So I need to learn kind of like the language and make sure like I can insert people in that moment. And I'm talking to people to help me with my soundscape, because I think if we can get the sounds right, the audience will get immersed in the film.
Totally.
And
honestly,
get the right
sound,
actors too.
Yeah, sound is such an easy way, or not easy way, but sound and like music is such an integral way to manipulate people into feeling how you want to.
Yeah.
It's such a great trick. I mean, like what I find interesting is taking like how scores on films are used, and kind of how can we kind of use that in the theater when you have them there live. Yeah. And so there's a director, and I'm unfortunately blanking on his name. He's Russian, and he's a musician and composer. But his theater shows don't have any music in them. But what he'll do when the audience are coming in, he'll play music to manipulate them to get them there emotionally where he wants them to be. Because he says people are always coming in with their different baggage, their days, everyone's kind of lives and stories are different. But he wants them to be emotionally in the place he wants them to be at when the show starts. Wow. And I found that to be so interesting, because it's like, how can we use music to affect the text and really like, as like to really emotionally affect people. And
now I know you had your reading for your play. Don't tell me. Actually, no, tell me.
It's called Rock and Roll Saved My Life.
Rock and Roll Saved My Life. You actually said it because you said it's kind of a biography?
It's a semi-autobiographical
Oh,
tale.
okay.
Semi, yeah. It used to be full autobiographical
And then you
tale.
took parts out?
Yeah, I needed to kind of disguise myself a little bit, I think. I don't know, I keep telling myself this, but I think like everyone knows it's about me. I tried denying it. I had a bit of a rough patch. Actually last year doing Fringe, or 2 years ago doing Fringe. I did Rock and Roll Save My Life at Gus's Pub, and I actually had a mental breakdown during the show because it was...
Is it like a one-person show?
Yeah, well, it was a two-person show. There's a character who's like a metaphor for rock and roll and the patriarchy.
Gotcha. Wait, how? How is the person two things?
So basically, it's a one-person show, but there's outside characters that kind of represent what the character's dealing with inside their head.
Gotcha.
So, for example, the character creates this like rock star persona, this idea of herself, and it's supposed to be about, you know, when you're telling a story and you have this idea of who you are, and you have this idea of who you are, and you're trying to also find this truth, and it's like, where do you meet in the middle? Because often these ideas that we have of ourselves, or these masks that we wear, are not actually truthful to ourselves. So it's about kind of taking off the mask, but it's also okay to put the mask on, because like life is terrifying sometimes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just sometimes you need that mask, you need that helmet, you need that shell. So kind of finding that balance, and that's kind of what I've been finding the most interesting part of exploring.
The experience of putting that play together and performing. How many times did you perform for Fringe?
We were supposed to do 5 shows, but we got through 3. Yeah.
And then at what point do you know, okay, this is too much and I'm not...
The third show, I was triggered, because we had an issue with our sound. The program we're using had like a glitch. So there's this song, and it's a Bikini Kill song called like White Boy, and it's a really intense song about a sexual assault. And that song's supposed to play much later in the show, and it came on during the part where I'm sort of talking about the sexual assault, and I just felt so triggered on stage and started like my heart was just racing. And after the show, something in my brain just kind of clicked. You know, you have a filter, like thoughts will come in and you're like, oh, nope, not that one yet. That one, like, nope. So that kind of clicked, or that was removed, and I just kind of lost touch with reality. I locked myself in my apartment for 3 days. I had wonderful friends bring me food, like pizza and lasagna, and checked on me. Got a little bit of time off work. So super grateful that all that happened. Such a great support network, but it was really scary.
So why are you still,
why am I still working on it? I don't know. I put it down for a while, and I was like, nope. Not touching that. And then I found myself kind of like getting curious again, poking at it, going in, touching up the dialogue. And then I just found myself applying for a development program. Yeah, I don't know. Something about it has me continually going back. And I incorporated another character now. So there's like a bit of a separation. And I'm still questioning whether I want to be an actor in the piece as well. But with the incorporation of the other character, the stage reading we did went okay. I felt good about it. And I think having some time away. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. I feel like it's a story that I want to share. When I've heard other women share stories of a similar nature, I found it really powerful. I started writing it after, so the play's about like a sexual assault that happened that I experienced in a taxi years ago when I was younger. And when the young woman, there was an article in the news about the young woman in the cab, and I went to the march, the protest, and I heard all these women sharing their stories, and it was really moving. So I was writing a little bit, and yeah, I don't know. I still don't know where the piece will go, but I think I keep coming back to it because of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah. I'm trying to get it.
Sorry.
I'm trying to catch myself.
Yeah, jumped
No.
right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was heavy. And actually, you know what? Having this medium, I get to meet people that do amazing things. And when someone goes to such a rural place, it's like, okay, I try to take a moment to get myself and then
Yeah, for sure.
and then but then you have this other play, kitchen
Kitchen or Rocktail.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so dark. A little more on the comedic side.
Okay, so what happens in the kitchen?
Well, so it's kind of based on also my experiences. I've sworn to people after these two plays I'm going to write about something other than myself because I think it's like all been a little close to home.
Yeah.
But it's about it's not about me, but it's about artists working in the restaurant industry, which I think is a reality that a lot of artists deal with.
much.
You're stuck playing this dual role. You have your dreams, your aspirations. Your artistic goals and visions, but then you also have to pay the bills, and often that involves customer service work, and often at times it can be quite menial and not satisfying. And so it's about playing that dual role and coming to that point in life that a lot of people get to when they're in their 30s of like, do I give up or do I keep on going? Because it's hard, and it can really break people down emotionally and physically. When you start to get to your 30s, your body can start to slow down on you. Doing all-nighters becomes a little more difficult, which is necessary when you're doing, 8-hour shifts to pay your bills and rent. And so I hear a lot of my friends kind of questioning this, being like, should I just give up, go back to school? Should I just get like a real job, whatever that means? So yeah, I feel like it's a constant question. So that's kind of what the script is about. That's sort of the heart of it.
So a rock tale, are they like rock songs you play or?
Yeah, well, the character Maze, they play guitar. And they kind of are the type that like their guitar never leaves with them. Like they probably sleep with their guitar. And so all the songs kind of emerge organically from the lead character playing their guitar. And it's kind of often in the kitchen, like on a slower day, people start fooling around, banging on pots and pans, songs emerge. So it's kind of that like kitchen party feel of just like the community that kind of can form when you have all these people I guess working this job and trying to find art in life. So that's kind of where the music sort of came from. That kitchen party feel, how, you're fooling around, you pick up a pots and pans, a song all of a sudden comes out, which is like honestly very real in the restaurant that my experience is.
How many people do you have in that play?
It's a 7-actor play.
Will you be acting in it?
Pardon?
Are you acting in it?
Nope. No, I do not think so.
Okay.
I think I'm just the writer on that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone else will direct it.
Yeah. Actually, Laura Vingoe-Cram, I believe, will be directing that one.
So how do you decide who directs your writing?
Often, you will work with dramaturgs. Do you know what a dramaturg is? Is there a film equivalent of a dramaturg?
No. Well,
script
maybe,
doctor?
like if you have a consultant, depending on the play you're on the script you're writing. Say I'm writing say someone wrote a book, right? And I want to adapt that book.
Yeah.
I guess the person that owns the book in that case might be someone because they understand the story.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of. I learned that term a few months ago. I was like, oh, okay. So that's what that person does.
Yeah.
It was weird to me.
But it's really helpful.
Yeah.
And you can kind of get a sense of who you'd want to work with. So you would go through sometimes a couple different dramaturgs applying for programs. And then through dramaturgy work often, I find it kind of helpful.
What do they do? Like, what?
They ask questions. They would go through your script and be like, okay, what does this mean? Or were you trying to say this here? Or like, why does that character do that? And basically, the goal of dramaturgy is not to tell a playwright how
What
to
to
write
write
their
it,
play, but
but-
to ask questions, because often something will seem really clear in my mind, but when someone else reads it, they're not getting what I'm trying to put out there.
Yeah, I know. Like, so my play is called Safe.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. And
I'm so excited to see
I
it.
wrote it and it made sense. But then this person I'm working with, I sent them the script and they read it. I'm like, and then they asked one question that was clear, but then when I read it again, I was like, oh shoot, I see how you missed it. So we're just going back and forth with
Yeah.
that thing. So yeah, it's super helpful. Super helpful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So she
Laura?
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura Vingoe-Cram, yeah.
was
She was I worked with her we went to school together, and I was always like really kind of in awe of her. She was always asked, like, you know, that person in your class who asks those questions and you're like, damn, like, I wish my brain like thought of that. So I wanted to work with her. She's a fantastic artist. She directs for Keep Good Theater Company, and yeah, I had her. She was a dramaturge and director on Rock and Roll Saved My Life at Gus's. It was the first time we worked together, and then we talked about Kitchen. We did the PARC, Playwrights Atlantic Resource Center. If you're ever needing some resources for your script, it's a great resource center to use. It's for playwrights. They have like home delivery programs and like a numerous, they'll hook you up with a dramaturge if you're not sure, or even help you if you're like, I don't know who would be the right fit for this play. These are the themes. And they might suggest like, oh, so-and-so like loves like this kind of a topic. We'll like maybe match you guys up. So it's a great resource center for playwrights.
What's it called again?
PARC, Playwrights Atlantic Resource Center.
Cool.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Pamela Halstead runs it right now. Jenny Monday was the previous. Fantastic women who have run it. Yeah, it's a great resource. Yeah, so I've now, sorry,
We're
I'm
talking
doing a shout out.
about
So
your
excited.
director.
Oh yeah, so we did we actually were luckily fortunate enough to do a workshop, a reading with actors, professional actors on Kitchen, which is amazing because you have all these actors in the room. They can ask questions about the character, and then we had a public reading of the work back in December. So I worked with her on that, and I was like, oh my goodness, if I can get her as a director, I would love to work with her because she's.
How long is it?
How long is Kitchen? Right now, with music, it's about an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the long. And then how many scripts? Is it like 1 minute page?
Roughly, I think generally a minute to a minute and a half per page. Yeah.
So that's like 100-page script, give or take.
The way I format mine, I would say it's more a minute and a half. So I think it's a 65-page script.
Oh wow.
Oh, so maybe it's less. I don't know. Math, I can't do math right now.
So and then do you write the songs on the scripts too, or?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Often I call my songwriting rough demos. And then I'm hoping I have a grant right now to work with composer Ann Denny in order to take some of my like rough demos and sort of fix them up a little bit and finesse them. Yeah, I wanted to work with Ann Denny because she has these great little like sort of views on finding art in life, and she does all these like amazing workshops with kind of like found created instruments, and yeah, so after hearing about some of her experiences with taking these workshops, I'm like, you are the person for this. So yeah, I kind of am hoping to send her some of my like rough demos and work with her, as well as Jess McDonald, who is a musician as well, and I'm hoping to have them play the lead character. Yeah, Jess and I used to be in the Femdoms together, so
okay.
yeah, that's how I met.
Yeah, she's just making music from everything.
Yeah, Jess is super talented.
Anyway, so how's the progress on Kitchen and rock and roll saved my life?
Well, after having these two experiences with public readings, which were like super helpful for the playwright, I am back to rewriting. So picking it apart, asking questions. I see a lot longer journey ahead for Rock and Roll Saved My Life. just because it's constantly changing. The structure of it is changing. But Kitchen, I think, is potentially gearing up, hopefully grant dependent. There'll probably be hopefully a production in the next year or two. But
wow.
then it's all grant dependent, right?
Yeah.
And grants are so hard. It's a lottery. It is. Like, you spend, it's a lottery ticket that costs you 2 months of your life, costs you contacting artists, and you generally don't get it. And you get so excited in the process. You're like, this is going to happen. I contacted Jess McDonald. I contacted Ann Denny. Everyone's down. It's going to, and I didn't get the grant. And then the feedback is excruciating because they're like, yeah, we just weren't engaged. It's quick feedback. Like, I'm grateful for any feedback, but they're like, jury was not engaged with your material. And you're like,
In what way?
why? Really? Like, I think it's cool. Really? And they're like, but your collaborators are awesome. I'm like,
When
thank
you're
you.
when you're submitting that to a grant, do you record the songs or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 because in order to work with people, especially like established people, you need money to pay them. I mean, like, sometimes people will be nice and like help you out and work with you for the grant's sake. But generally, like, you're kind of sending in rougher demos. Like, you don't have the time and money to
Everything, yeah.
record these beautiful finished projects.
Because you need that money to make that thing.
And so it's kind of like a little bit of a catch-22.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of figuring it out. I'm no grant master. Hopefully one day I keep working on grants, and yeah, that's been a lot of my time lately.
So
grants.
how much would that play cost to make?
Like 40 grand at least. Oh yeah, at least. Yeah, because 7 actors,
Yeah.
space, director, and like the salaries, like even paying like the bare minimum, like I would like to pay more. They're like not fantastic even by like equity standards. So yeah, it's tough. It's a big endeavor.
And that's why people have to do the other job, right?
Yeah. And a lot of the time it's that leap, going from kind of being an amateur artist to a professional artist. Because, you know, when you're amateur, you're just kind of experimenting and throwing stuff up and it's super fun and awesome. And then you get to a certain point and you're like, I want to pay people because I can see my like friends and actors draining themselves. Like they believe in the work too, but you're like, okay, we're all getting a little older. We have to pay and have food, and we can't keep like, you know, killing ourselves over art. And so making that leap is really hard because you need to get the funding, but you also need people to kind of know who you are in order to be like, to trust you, to hope they recognize you as a professional. So I found myself in like kind of a stagnant place of like, you know, trying to go for the grants and apply for funding, apply for professional like development opportunities. And it's kind of making that leap from amateur, which is great. Like I love community amateur work. It's fun. Like I'm actually dying to kind of jump into something fringy again, just to throw something up on stage because it's been a while. Yeah.
I'm auditioning, so.
Awesome. Let me know the details.
Okay, I'm
Sweet.
going to end it with this. Man, this was super engaging. We have to talk again.
Yeah,
but I want to
I
end
really
it with
enjoyed
this, though. When you get to a point where, you know, that point where you're like, you know, I'm at a certain age, should I just keep going or should I go back to school? When you have those moments where those questions arise, how do you handle it? And what advice would you have for someone that's kind of dealing with that right now?
About going back to school? I don't know if I'm the one to give advice. I'm figuring it out myself as well. No, it's a really good question. I like, it's one I am like dealing with. I honestly, I would say do what makes you happy. I mean, that's such a general kind of almost bullshit statement. I feel like I just kind of like threw away. But no, at the end of the day, I think I know what I'm doing. I'm going for it. I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm going to keep working. I'm along the process. I'm going to make sure I'm trying to get like sleep and taking care of myself. But I love it too much. And I don't want to have regrets. And I would let people know that if if you love it, I mean, if you do something that you love, you like, I won't work a day in your life. A lot harder than said than done. And I mean, once you get into it, it's still work. But my advice: surround yourself with good people, take care of yourself, and don't like lose hope of your like childish dreams. They're not silly. I think people get to a certain age and they think like, okay, these are like, this is silly now. But I mean, like, it's never like, I know actors who are getting back into it in their 70s because it was something they kind of got to that 30 mark and gave up on, had the job, retired, and now we're doing it again. And that's fantastic. Like, why not? You're never like too old. But yeah, personally myself, I'm gonna like just keep at it. But take care of myself along the way, because I know what happens when it can definitely like break you or take a toll on your mental health if you're pulling the all-nighters, still working full-time, trying to make great art happen, and it can definitely take a toll. So yeah, take care of yourself and keep doing it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you so much, Israel. I really enjoyed this.
Me too.
Yeah, awesome. And I will be at your Fringe show.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I can't wait. And let me know about auditions.
I will.
Okay,
Thanks.
perfect. Thank you.
This is the Blackout Podcast. Thanks for listening.